Hello, fellow Star Wars fans. It is Starrapter coming at you with my spoiler-free review for Star Wars Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker. But I do have my spoiler-filled discussion with my buddy Teddy on the channel right now if you want to dive right into spoilers. But remaining spoiler-free, getting into it, my first reaction of watching this movie was I was a little bit mixed. I didn't know what to think. And in fact, I've been putting off this review for 3 days now because I've just been milling this movie over in my mind over and over and over again. I even seen it another time, so I've seen it a total of 2 times now. And I'm hoping by the end of this review that I somehow come away with knowing exactly how I feel, and I don't think that's going to happen, but I'm going to do my best to try to explain and try to describe what I'm feeling to you guys because there's a lot to take in with this movie. It's a little bit under 2.5 hours, and there is so much happening. And getting right into where I had feelings of doubt, and it's within that first, 30 to 40 minutes. Mainly that first 10 minutes is just so blistering fast that I feel like it was a bit rushed, and to the point where a lot of exposition's missing, and it's really just getting me out of the experience because I'm just questioning how is this happening so quickly right now? What's going on? I feel like there's a lot of missing pieces and a lot of gaps. But besides that, about halfway through the movie or so, that's when I really started feeling confident. Things started clicking into place for me. And I seen this movie as really coming full circle from where it was with the prequels. And it's so hard to review a movie by itself that is part of a trilogy and part of an entire 9-film saga. In fact, it's almost impossible to review this movie without talking about the previous other movies. Because one thing I will mention is that this movie makes me enjoy The Last Jedi a heck of a lot more. Like, this movie really does a great job, not just with that, but enhancing things like A New Hope and enhancing movies like The Force Awakens. So it really does have like far-reaching emphasis on different parts of the saga. So I want to talk about the characters first off, and I want to talk about Rey. And Rey, she's a character that has been the front runner for this entire trilogy. And we see her from the deserts of Jakku to where she is in this movie, where she is training to be a full-fledged Jedi. And she has lost her master Luke, and now she is training by herself with some of these books and some other things, which I'm not going to spoil. But I feel like throughout this trilogy, I just never really grew to appreciate Rey as a character that much. I mean, yes, Daisy Ridley does a great performance, but I just don't feel like I can gravitate toward this character the way I do with Kylo Ren. And Adam Driver performing the character of Kylo Ren and Ben Solo is at its best in this movie. Like, he absolutely knocks this one out of the park, and there's just so many surprising elements with this character, especially in this movie, and just the range of emotions that he goes through is just so captivating. And I mean, it's just a character that you can kind of empathize with, you know, especially if you look into the expanded material out there and you know what's happening between him and Luke and everything else with his parents not have enough time for him, so you can see how he kind of goes into the era of the dark side. Looking at a character like Poe Dameron, who starts off as a hotshot pilot. We see in The Last Jedi that he starts a mutiny and he gets into all this trouble with Holdo and with Leia, and he gets knocked down a peg or two. But then in this movie, he comes back swinging. So seeing Poe Dameron as a character that was supposed to really die in the beginning of The Force Awakens and having this beautiful arc, and I don't know, I really really did enjoy this entire arc of Poe Dameron, and especially where you see him at the end of this movie, I think he did grow quite a bit. Now, the character of Finn, unfortunately, doesn't get the amount of growth that all these other characters that I mentioned does receive, and it's disappointing because he was one of my favorite things about The Force Awakens. And yes, he's a great action hero. Again, he's a great action hero in this movie, but he doesn't really seem like he has a whole lot to do, to be honest with you. It's disappointing to see that there's lots of hints of his character and what's to become of his character in this movie, but they don't take it a far enough step to really capitalize on what could happen with this character. And again, I'm sorry guys, I'm just trying to keep this as vague as possible, but it's just, his character just didn't do it for me in this particular movie. Moving on to the big elephant in the room, and that's Carrie Fisher. And, she passed unfortunately away. But J.J. Abrams was able to utilize footage from The Force Awakens that he didn't have originally in his film. And it is mind-blowingly how good it is. Like, the amount of footage that they have for Leia in this movie was a lot more than I expected. And they did the character with such righteousness, because she really does a great job in this movie, and I'm sure they had to kind of steer the plot around her for what lines she did have of dialogue, but the way they do it is very much seamless, and it still, I think, ends in a very satisfying way, no matter if we had her in the movie or if we didn't. I still really like how this movie progresses to the end. Moving on to the new characters, which I really did enjoy. So we have Jannah. She is basically this outcast sort of character that leads a band of warriors aboard of a... So I do want to talk about the new characters, because we have 3 big ones to talk about. The first one I want to mention is Jannah, and she is this character that lives on Kefbir, which is the world that the Death Star crashed on. She has a very cool past, and I wasn't expecting that, but I'm so for her past, and this sort of, not a relationship romantically per se, but how Finn and her connect. I think it's a very cool kind of way that integrates itself very well into Finn's story. We also have Zoe Bliss, and her character connects very well to Poe Dameron. And, well, without giving too much away, they have a history. And this history, I came away after watching this movie like, I want a Disney Plus series on this. I want a standalone movie or something to do with what happened in the past with Zoe Bliss, because she is this pirate lord on this world of Kijimi, and yeah, it's got a very interesting history with Poe Dameron. And finally, we have the Allegiant General Pride, and this guy, he's pretty one-note, I'm not gonna lie. Like, I mean, he's a really good performance for this certain actor that played this character, but he's just like your evil Imperial officer. There's not a whole lot with him. He's cunning. He's kind of getting above General Hux and putting him in his place, even after Kylo Ren did it last time. So, getting to this end of this movie, and the fact that we have everything coming together, I still felt like this ending, while it was satisfying, it was very open-ended. And I mean very open-ended, because they leave things just hanging. And it's like, I think we could have used this a little bit more resolution. And I think that's the entire film in a nutshell, is I think we need a little bit more time. This movie should have been, I think, like 3 hours long. And that would have been great, because we would have got rid of all those exposition problems that I had. Some things wouldn't feel as rushed, and we can get through just a little bit more, especially with this ending. This is not just the ending of a regular movie or a trilogy, but of a 9-film saga. So to really pay homage to certain things, and it did end beautifully, I'm not going to lie. It ended very, very nice. Things came full circle. But it still felt a little bit rushed. Another thing was a certain character, certain things happen. It really aligns itself very neatly with the Return of the Jedi ending, in a sense. So just how it felt similar to something else that came before is also something I have problems with. Getting more into the good. The relationship between Finn, Poe, and Rey was phenomenal. Seeing them on an adventure in this first half of this movie, going to these different planets, is something we haven't ever seen, because by the end of The Last Jedi, that's when Rey and Poe met for the first time. So it kind of sucks that we didn't get this kind of thing earlier in the series, as we did with the original trilogy with Luke, Han, and Leia. But at least we got a good amount of it, and they did have a lot of chemistry, these characters, for sure. Lightsaber battles, really freaking cool. There's a lot of lightsaber battles in here. A lot of things with just the acrobatics, the action, speeder chases. We get Millennium Falcon flying through some very tight quarters. We get huge fleet battles. I mean, huge. Like, massive. Like, you've never seen this many ships before. And just closing things out with the emotions I felt. And I always judge a movie by how many, like, how important these emotions are for me, right? Not gonna lie, I teared up on a couple occasions during this movie. I felt very moved by certain things that happen, and it's the culmination of all these films coming to the end, which really just resonates with me, because I'm like, I invested so much of my time into these characters, And seeing things come to an end is just kind of heartbreaking for me on a number of levels. But then there were moments where I was jumping pretty much out of my seat, cheering, going crazy. So many shocks, so many left turns here and there in a good way that, yeah, I think overall I have a lot of positive things to say about this movie. This movie developed new force powers, things we've never seen before. Some of the best things in Star Wars in general, without a doubt. But then there was a lot of things that just left me wanting a little bit more. So again, very conflicted with this movie, but it's because I hold, of course, Star Wars kind of high on my list for things I expect from. I expect a certain amount of quality, and with J.J. Abrams, we got that quality. The cinematography is incredible. The amount of the extras and the things in the background, just, this is Star Wars. Without a doubt, this is definitely Star Wars. I'm happy that J.J. Abrams started this trilogy. He's able to end this trilogy while still acknowledging what Rian Johnson did with The Last Jedi, capitalizing and expanding on those concepts, which to me just tightens up everything. This movie, it brings together all 9 films. It kind of taps into the Skywalker legacy and really just says what it is about legacy, why that's important. I feel like that's one of the themes for this specific trilogy. But I don't want to go too much into themes because, again, that would spoil something with the movie. So, with that being said, this is the big moment. I'm going to give it a score, guys. After all this time, I'm still, at the very moment, not sure what I'm going to give it a score as. I'm going to go and say I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. An 8 out of 10, which if you look at my scale, that's the lowest Star Wars movie that I've graded for the last 5 films in Disney that they've put out. And yeah, technically I like The Last Jedi a little bit more right now, and that holds true. I really do like The Last Jedi after watching this movie especially. It really does get enhanced by The Rise of Skywalker. But that is enough for my spoiler-free review. Guys, let me know what you thought of The Rise of Skywalker in the comment section below. Let me know how you feel, how you felt getting out of the theater, and we'll chat all about it, of course. Keep it spoiler-free because there's still quite a few people in the world that have not seen this movie yet, and there's lots of really awesome reveals that I don't want ruined for anybody looking in my comment section. So that is going to do it for me, Starrapter. If you are new to the channel, welcome. I talk about Star Wars on a weekly basis, not just the movies, but I talk about the comics, the novels, the TV series like The Mandalorian and Resistance and all of that. So if you liked my input on this video, make sure you go ahead and support my channel simply by subscribing, and do hit that notification bell icon so that way you'll be notified of future videos. That is going to do it for me, Starrapter. Thank you guys so much for joining me. That's going to do it for me. Have a great day, and may the Force be with you always. Thanks for checking out the video. Please hit that thumbs up symbol. It helps me know that I'm making content that you guys enjoy. And if you enjoyed this video, I also include 2 videos down below you guys should check out. And please consider subscribing to this channel. It helps support me, and it notifies you guys of when I get new videos up on the channel. You can also contact me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Starrapter.